Hi golfers! Today we're going to learn how a golf ball is like an airplane. In order to do so, we'll need to learn about air pressure, air resistance, the Bernoulli principle, and the 4 forces of flight. Let's go! First, we're going to start with a 20-second game called the soda can jump. This quick activity is going to introduce us to air pressure, and it's going to help to explain the Bernoulli principle. So you're going to need 2 coffee mugs, an empty soda can, and your lungs. Okay, you're going to set it up. Your objective in this game is to get this soda can into this coffee mug from here. In order to do it, you're going to blow into the coffee mug. You're not going to touch it with your hands. So let me see if I can do it. Oh, that was close. I did it! So why is this happening? This coffee cup might look empty, but it's actually filled with air. It's invisible, you can't see it, but it's full of air. When you place the soda can in, and then you blow into it, you're putting more air into the mug, and it can't hold it, so it pushes the can out. And as it pushes the can out, you could maybe get it into your other coffee mug. That's part of the game. Were you good enough to do it? The faster you blow, the more pressure you create. And the more pressure you create, the higher your soda can fly. Air pressure, the Bernoulli principle explains, is the reason that an airplane can fly and the reason that you can drive a golf ball hundreds of yards. This is my airplane. Pretty cool, right? Looks just like the real thing. Okay, so let's talk about the 4 forces of flight. At any given time, there are 4 forces acting on an airplane in flight. Those 4 forces are lift, weight, drag, and thrust. Lift is a key aerodynamic force that keeps objects in the air. Lift keeps an object in the air because it pulls the object in the opposite direction of gravity. Gravity wants to take the plane down, lift wants to push it in the opposite direction. Weight is a second force. Weight is that force of gravity that does try to pull it down. All objects, including aircraft, like airplanes, have some sort of weight. It's just a matter of, can you balance the weight against the lift so that you can get in flight? Drag is also air resistance, which we talked about before, which is the pressure of the fluid, in this case air, pushing against the object in flight. And the 4th force is thrust, which is the thing that pushes it forward. With an aircraft, it's usually an engine that pushes it forward in flight. That's thrust. Let's look a little bit deeper. The wing's upper surface is curved so that the air rushing over the top of the wing speeds up and stretches out, which decreases the air pressure above the wing. In contrast, the air flowing below the wing is in more of a straight line, which means that it adds pressure and pushes up, adds pressure and speed at the same time. The air below the wing pushes upward toward the air above the wing. The wing gets caught in the middle of these 2 airflows, which causes it to get lifted by the force of those 2 airflows coming together. The faster an airplane moves, the more lift is created. When the force of lift is greater than the force of gravity, the airplane gets picked up off the ground and begins to fly. Everything that we just talked about with the airplane, including air pressure, air resistance, the Bernoulli principle, and those 4 forces of flight, has the same effect on a golf ball. The dimples on the golf ball help to make it more aerodynamic. They're actually a better design to have it with dimples than to have it be a smooth surface, because the dimples help it to cut through the air and go farther and faster, whereas a smooth ball would have to deal with more air resistance. As the ball is in flight, the dimples cause the air rushing over the ball to speed up and stretch out, which decreases the air pressure the ball encounters from the front. Then the air flowing below the ball helps to push it upward so that it is lifted by the force of the air. The faster a ball is moving through the air, the more lift is generated. I know the Bernoulli principle is still a little bit confusing, so let's do another very fast 20-second game to understand it. This is called the Huff and Puff Challenge. For the Huff and Puff Challenge, you're going to need a straw, if you have one. If not, you can just use your mouth. You're going to need an empty water bottle, and you're going to need a little tiny rolled up piece of paper, like that. You're going to take your water bottle, you're going to take your rolled up piece of paper, and you're going to put it right here on the entrance of the bottle. Okay, just like that. Then all you have to do is push it into the bottle with your air. So you're going to direct the straw towards the paper, blow into it, and push the paper into the bottle. Can you do it? Mine came out. It came out again. Let me try one more time. It keeps coming out. That is because of the Bernoulli principle. Let me explain. With an item like the paper ball resting on the mouth of the bottle, it would make sense that the air from the straw would blow it into the bottle, but the exact opposite happens. The secret is inside of the bottle. What's inside of the bottle? Although we say it's an empty bottle, it's not actually empty, it's full of air. So again, while you can't blow air into the bottle, you are moving quite a bit of air along the sides of the bottle, and when the air blows past the mouth of the bottle, it creates an area of low pressure behind it. This is what the Bernoulli principle is all about. That area of low pressure is exactly what pushes the paper ball out of the bottle's mouth. For today's main activity, you're going to experiment with air pressure and resistance by designing and testing a parachute. Now this is for an action figure, okay? It's not for a person. We're not professionals, we're just learning. As always, I'm going to give you my tips, but you can feel free to be creative and do it in whatever way you think works best, using whatever materials you like. Here's what I'm going to use. I don't have an action figure, so I'm going to use this car. It's of string, I'm going to use that too. I'm going to use scissors and tape. I always have my measuring tape just in case I need it. And then for my parachute itself, I'm going to use this big plastic garbage bag. Okay, I'm taking my garbage bag, which is very large, and I'm just going to cut a big square out of it. That's all I need is one big square. So I have my square here. This is a plastic bag that's been turned into a square. Remember, a square has the same length and width, so I just measured mine to make sure it's about the same lengthwise and widthwise, and it is. But it doesn't have to be perfect, so as long as you can get it pretty close to a square, you'll be all right. Step 2 is to now turn your square into an octagon. An octagon has 8 sides, like a stop sign. We're going to do that now to our plastic square. All right, here's my octagon. A little hard to see because it's breezy out here. But pretty much all you have to do is cut the corners off of your square and it turns into an octagon. Now that you have your octagon, this is going to be your parachute. Your next step is to, in every side of your octagon, punch a little hole. If you have a hole punch, that'll work perfectly. I don't, so I'm just gonna pierce it with the scissors. Be careful, okay? Use an adult if you need to. And then once you have a hole on each of these 8 sides of your octagon, you're going to attach a piece of string into each of those holes. And the piece of string will be the same size for every hole. Here are my 8 pieces of string that are all about the same length. And now I'm going to attach each piece of string to one of those holes in my octagon. Here it is, I have all my strings attached. If you hold it from the middle, it looks kind of like a jellyfish. And all I did was I double knotted the strings. very easy. Tied them once and then tied them again, and they're in there. The next thing to do is to attach your strings to whatever object you're going to use as your weight. You might have an action figure. I'm going to use this car. Do not use your little brother or sister. I'm serious. Only use a toy. Okay, let's attach it. You might notice that these strings get a little unwieldy, so I'm going to simplify it for myself. You can do whatever method you want, but I'm just going to tape the ends of these strings together so they don't get away from me, and then I'm going to tape that to my car. If you want to tie it to your action figure, or I don't know, glue it, or whatever you want to do, you can try it. I'm just going to see now I've taped these together, and then I'm going to tape them to my car. Here we go. I have my car taped here. I just kind of taped all the way around from the top, and then like a long piece of tape taped all the way around over the bottom and back up to the top, and it's holding it on pretty well. So, are you ready? Hopefully your parachute will descend softly to the ground, giving your weight a comfortable landing. When you release the parachute, what happens is the weight pulls down on the strings and it opens up a large surface area of material. This opens up, which acts as air resistance to slow it down. The larger the surface area you use, the more air resistance you're going to have, and the slower your parachute will be to drop. Bombs away. It worked. Okay, that's it for air pressure, air resistance, the Bernoulli principle, and the 4 forces of flight. Have fun, be creative, share your pictures and videos with me so I can see how you're doing.